But some of the terms and some of the rules and some of the structures we've set up have created unbelievable barriers for artists to express themselves. And I think that without being unfaithful, ungrateful, I think we need a little workaround. I just don't think, I think having it be so impossible for people to tell stories and having it be such an exclusive and rarefied novel position to be in, to find yourself doing so, is capitalist hell. And it hates women, and it hates marginalized voices, and it's racist. And I think that we need to figure out a way to make it easier to speak to each other through in cinematic terms. It's too hard to make movies right now that aren't blockbustery, whatever, proven equations.
The film and television industry is at a breaking point. From the pandemic to union strikes, corporate consolidation, shrinking budgets, shifting audience behavior, and the rapid rise of AI, the entertainment landscape feels unstable and for many uncertain. And let's not forget, according to some, the era of striving for diversity, equity, and inclusion is over. Is that true, or are we simply looking in the wrong places? Are direct-to-consumer models offered by platforms like YouTube the answer to expanding opportunities beyond traditional Hollywood gatekeepers? I'm Crystal Echohawk, and on this episode of Power in Numbers, we'll look at how the television and film industry is being rebuilt in real time, and ask the even bigger question, when power shifts, who gets to shape what comes next? I'll be joined in the C-suite by Charlene Polite-Corley of Nielsen. And then later in our roundtable, we will hear from former YouTube exec and co-founder of Gold House, Bing Chen, as well as founder of Cascast Productions, Kamala Avila Salmon, and television writer and producer, and our very own AZ Dungy. We'll also hear from actress and comedian Janice Schmieding on how it feels to be part of this new and rather tenuous Hollywood landscape. Stay with us. Welcome back to the C-Suite, Charlene. We're going to talk about, I think, what is one of our favorite topics to talk about, which is Hollywood. Maybe not so much Hollywood, but TV, film, entertainment. I mean, you don't have to be like an industry Hollywood insider, whatever, to realize that Hollywood is, man, it's been going through some things. Yeah. Pandemics, strikes, I mean, all the things. So we're going to get into it. But before we even get into all that, what are you watching right now? What's your favorite thing that you're watching right now?
I watch a lot of Abbott Elementary. That's probably what I'm most caught up on. But I love a sitcom. So many great characters, and also like just a really diverse cast, even though it has, 3 Black women leads, but they're all incredibly different. So yeah, that one, hilarious, so well done and scripted, and some great talent across the board.
And then I have to ask, when you're all on your own, which rarely us moms, right, women get that time, but what is your guilty, like, alone pleasure to watch on TV?
I definitely just binged Bridgerton. And so I love sappy, beautiful romance story. So that was always great.
Yeah, I've watched the first half of it, getting ready to watch the second half. It's our escapism, as you were, telling us early. 70% of us want to tune out. So
exactly.
So as we're getting in this conversation, like, you and I have been like grown to be friends over the last 6 years, right? Because of our work that we've done around representation in Hollywood, diversity in Hollywood, right? So all we keep hearing is DEI is dead. I can't tell you how many people, in my work that I've talked to that have been like, you know what, community-specific stories, which is one way they say it, done. Nobody watches them. There's no audience for these stories. People just want straight down the middle, like vanilla, I don't know, right? Like, we're hearing that a lot. But you know the numbers. So talk to me, like, what is the most popular things that people are watching right now?
Oh my gosh. I think this, recently we have seen with Bridgerton launching, it's billions of minutes viewed, right? Across all types of different audiences. You saw something with another great ensemble cast with a variety of different identities represented with Stranger Things, and that show wrapping at the end of the last year and breaking all kinds of engagement records. I mentioned watching a show like Abbott that again has a great ensemble, different variety of characters. So we do continue to see, especially with scripted, there is an audience. There is, for us to be in business, there's still a lot of unmet demand when it comes to inclusion in the media that we consume. And so seeing that folks show up again and again, I remember one of my favorite things that I watched last year was Forever on Netflix. It was like just a great coming of age love story, these two Black teenagers and following them through their first love, something you've never seen before. I think it's from Mara Baraka Keel. And so just done really, really well. And again, the nostalgia of, navigating all those firsts. So people, I think, really tapping into universal truths and experiences, even if it's a culture that maybe folks don't identify with, but showing up and finding something. We're still seeing those kinds of content win.
What are some of the other top shows?
Programs are coming out on streaming, but having sort of like a live experience. So coming out in the movie theater and sending audiences to go like experience this together. So we saw that with the Stranger Things finale or with K-pop Demon Hunters going into theaters. So I think it's a really interesting trend as well. One of the biggest themes for content this year has been sports across the board. The insurgence of women's sports and just, growing year over year, finding their audience, finding the coverage that is really just allowing people to fall in love with the talent and the stories there. It's one of the most inclusive places on television. Seeing those athletes come together and, have elite performances, but also telling the stories about how they show up as their full and authentic selves.
Okay, I have to ask you about heated rivalry. What is that telling us?
In a world of noise around less of this and less of that, who would have thought that a queer hockey romance with Canadian, Asian, Russians would have been like the sleeper hit of the season? But it has really taken, I think, pop culture by storm. I think one of the leads just hosted SNL recently. It's starting a lot of healthy conversations, which I think all great art does, around like healthy masculinity, healthy relationships and communication, or just living in your truth. And so I think it was really just well done. And when we look at not just Gen Z, but looking at Gen Alpha and those trends, the inclusion and cultural authenticity are just table stakes. That is the expectation. It's not a surprising thing when somebody shows up and is being represented authentically. That is what the future of audiences expect, period, full stop. Having all of those show up with a different richness and context and not just a monolithic or stereotypical portrayal, I think is really, really powerful.
Well, even building on that, this could be like a 5-hour long podcast talking about every favorite thing, but in that same note, what about Sinners?
Girl, yes.
Break it down. Tell me everything.
So I think, we all remember when this phenomenal film comes out and the expectations were the goalpost was moved, let's say, on the expectations. It had a great box office debut, but then all of a sudden folks were worried if it was going to break even. And I feel like the community and the culture were like, of course it's going, say less, we're there. But beyond just the cultural impact, I think there's just so many great lessons of everything the business says that they want, something that's a financial success, something that is a piece of art, something that's original and rich and employs a ton of people and debuts new talent. I think it was just also a great case study in the life cycle that great storytelling can have now, like the financial success in the box office, and then debuting and streaming to, I think it was 500 million minutes viewed the weekend that it premiered on our TV screen. So people just could not get enough. And it wasn't just because telling this really rich and fantastical African-American story with representation. We saw communities from Mississippi Choctaw to, Asian Americans all around this incredible story. And
vampires
got their moment.
Exactly.
Okay. There was a Irish, whole element. So again, I think they just hit on so many different fandom opportunities, tapping into the inclusion that people want from their own community, and then also busting the myth that when you get specific, it isolates others. It does not isolate folks, and especially when it's done so artfully and beautifully, it just brought others along. And we all walked away learning something, right? Either about our own culture's experience or about a new culture. And one of my favorite trends on social media after the premiere was everybody saying, "Where is my show?" about the Choctaw vampire hunters. So,
I'm here for it.
So yeah, just extremely well done. And the award season is bearing it out.
So you see all this diverse content, killing it, right? But yet it seems to be decision makers and old gatekeepers, I don't know, culture wars or whatever, are trying to tell us that that's wrong, that that's not the case. There's not a market for it.
Yeah.
So why is it, one, that myth sort of prevails with the people who are actually making the decisions? And then it's it just sounds like inclusive content is having a much broader appeal, but it's not maybe always just about race, ethnicity, and gender. It's some other things. So it's a two-part kind of big question, however you want to break that down.
I can't tell you how many times I wish I could pull in a Hollywood exec into my group chat so they can see and hear and feel the conversation around content that's really connecting, or what people wish, I wish they would have said that, or if they had worn this. Some of those notes that the audience is giving and feel for that authenticity, but also just to like remind them that like real people are interested in these stories. We have some great examples of that just not being the case, that especially when it comes to, because you mentioned Sinners, that centering a Black story doesn't isolate folks from showing up. And I think we just need more at-bats, more opportunities to kind of step into the genres that we've historically been excluded from, step into those roles where maybe you think we don't fit, but we are living those lives. And I think that is really where the untapped magic is. I hope that is sort of the turning point that's on the way, because we do have some really, really great examples of it working.
Let's talk about Super Bowl and Bad Bunny.
Hello. Yeah, hugely successful. Over 128 million viewers just to that performance. And the numbers also show not everybody spoke Spanish that tuned in. Just like bringing us into your world and your culture. I think that audiences are just so ready for world building and immersion and escape, but also authenticity. Even if you didn't quite understand it, even if you didn't translate it, I think he was able to showcase his talent. I mean, he's worked his way out of bagging groceries to being a world-renowned artist and setting up residency in Puerto Rico and shifting their economy. So, I mean, I think
that's crazy. Yeah,
which is
shifted the economy.
Insane. So I think seeing that success celebrated was just really powerful.
What are your biggest predictions when we think about Hollywood, entertainment, TV, and film?
You mentioned the pendulum swinging. I think it's going to swing back the other way, and people are going to be chasing that next Sinners, the next Heated Rivalry, the next K-pop Demon Hunters. So I think there's going to be a lot of new attempts at finding the next big thing, and they're going to try and do it through more inclusive storytelling. At least that's my hope.
Love it. That's a great place to end on that hope.
Yes, for sure.
All right, let's get into it. What myth do you want to bust?
The myth I want to bust is that inclusive content isolates audiences. Time and again in our research, we see that authentic, inclusive stories told well brings other audiences along.
Yes, I want to make a t-shirt out of that.
Right.
Honestly, because it is like the biggest falsehood out there. Thank you so much for coming and just kicking it with me today. And I can't wait to watch some of the shows that you're watching too.
I will nerd out with you anytime. Thanks for having me.
And let's lobby for that Choctaw movie.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ryan, if you're listening.
Ryan. I needed to know what Janice Schmieding felt about this whole Hollywood situation. Here's what she had to say.
I don't know if Hollywood really was ever the center of opportunity, especially for Native people. I think we've only just recently sort of been having the pen in our hand, so to say. Hollywood is changing. We're basically being sort of monopolized by a bunch of very douchey, nerdy, white, sometimes South African white tech psychos. They're tech psychopaths is really what they are. Yes, the industry has to evolve and we have to, be smart about it. And natives, we've always been smart about it. But I also think that makes it so that, what we're going to see on Forge is in the move to monopolize is a very undemocratic approach to entertainment, which is anti-DEI, sort of anti-woke, run-of-the-mill television for middle America, and then the occasional heated rivalry, maybe. If we can't rely on anyone to come and save us, then all we have is ourselves. And, Native people are survivors, and we do so with humor and grace. What I want to change the script on is how we sort of do not go quietly into the dark night. We are not a quiet, stoic people. We are a bitchy, sort of resentful people. Okay, we hold a grudge. And I want us as a people to sort of sharpen those knives. Let's turn our grudges into cool stories, is what I'm saying. Everywhere I go, every speaking gig that I do, every school that I visit, and I do visit a lot, I always tell the young people to keep your day job, first of all. Do whatever you got to do to make sure you got your health insurance, you got your bases covered, you're not going to starve, because it's really hard to think about creativity when you're hungry. It's really hard to think about what the art is going to look like when you're pressed for money. And sharpen the knife. Whatever your version of storytelling is, sharpen it, get better at it, learn about it, practice it. And find hope in the creation of things. Like, I think that there is real. Whenever I finish a writing project and I get to the end of it and I send it off to whoever I'm sending it to, because writing is meant to be read, I feel good. I feel accomplished. I'm like, shit, I should sign up for a marathon. I never do. But the feeling of completion and movement and momentum is there. And sometimes that's all we need, is to feel finished about something. And I do think that we have so much creativity in our midst, and so much to offer the world, and honestly, so much to offer each other.
For our Hollywood and Storytelling episode, I must say that we have an appropriately dazzling panel. We are joined by film and TV producer and founder of Cast Productions, Kamala Avila Salmon, CEO and co-founder of Gold House, Bing Chen, and comedy writer Az Denji. Kamala, Bing, and Az, welcome to Power in Numbers. I just quickly want to know from each of you, what's one thing that's bringing you joy? Az, let's start with you.
Well, I don't always get to write these days, as we're going to get into when it comes to this industry. But I'm always an artist. So right now, what brings me joy is I've gotten back into painting, and it's just peaceful and something you can do by yourself. And that brings me a lot of joy.
Love it. All right. Kamala?
So I would say one thing is my son. I have an amazing 8-year-old named Langston, and he's brilliant and kind and loving and such a mama's boy. And I love getting love right now in this moment. And then another thing is that we have an amazing film coming out called The Gates by first-time filmmaker of color that came through a program I built at Lionsgate to create opportunity. So I'm really excited about that, and I hope that people get to see it.
Oh, it's so exciting. Congratulations. All right, Bing, what's something that's bringing you joy right now?
Hi, everyone. Sorry. I'm in the airport right now. So if you hear clinking, clacking, it's not the books coming to life. It's that virtual background inside an airport. I feel like I have to choose my creative project as well. I've been working for a decade on this 12-part, 3-act creative franchise about death. It's the best thing I've ever done. And the response has been really overwhelming. Great.
Yeah, we need life. We need joy. All right. So, let's start getting into it. I want to discuss, how has the industry changed in the last couple of years, and how have you each evolved with it?
I was at Lionsgate for 4 years, and I left just under a year and a half ago to start my own production company. And when I told people I was doing that, a lot of people were like, what an interesting time to become a producer, because so much is going on. I have friends of color saying they feel like there's no place for them in the industry. But I really still approach this moment with a lot of optimism, because I believe that what we are doing when it comes to amplifying inclusive voices is not social justice work. It actually is commercial work. I'm seeing rapturous embrace of interesting, original, inclusive, diverse stories, from Sinners to One of Them Days to Forever on Netflix. There's so many.
Az, what's happening out there for you and for fellow creatives?
Well, I have to go back a bit and say that I started on YouTube 13 years ago. And I feel like back then it was sort of like you create the buzz around yourself. And then the goal was to get into the industry and get the real work, right? And now so much has broken down that it feels like the difference from when I was starting is that, you know, the place to be might be on these direct to consumer platforms.
Bing, from your vantage point, what's happening and how are you and Gold House evolving with it?
We're really excited. We think it's the best time to build, even though structurally it looks like it's the worst time. When companies and people get very nervous, what ends up happening is those of us who are forgotten or overlooked get to actually sing. I can tell you the majority of the top 12 categories when I was at YouTube in 2010 were led by Asians and Black folks. The second thing I think about is interest. People forget that the only really mid-tier viable creative category that has survived the last decade is horror. So a lot of us lamented the redundant sequels in the 2008 sort of to 2012 period, but we forget that horror was really reborn as the only mid-budget viable category. I mean, Kamal is a great example of this. She's got an amazing horror thriller come out. And really, you know, James Wan, Blumhouse, and so forth really get credit for promoting that. I think the whole adage of build in scarcity, scale in plenty is something that we really need to imbue in us right now.
AZ, I want to come to you because, I mean, do you think for all the good intentions of, we're just going to call it the DEI movement or like around representation, what worked well, what didn't go well? What's the lesson we all need to take forward in this really new moment?
I want to start by saying that racism is not rational, right? Bias is not rational. So you can have all the numbers in the world, but they'll still tell you that, I mean, we had Fresh Prince. Like, we grew up on Fresh Prince. Like, everybody watched Fresh Prince. It wasn't a Black show. Like, we've proven ourselves time and time again. But I think for me, it always goes back to who is in those rooms making those decisions. And it's insidious. I've been in a room where all the writers were Black, but the people above us were white. And I've been told we can't do that joke because I don't get it. Like, literally.
Yeah.
So we have to have the freedom to tell the stories authentically with integrity. And people have to believe in us.
The evidence is saying audiences want diversity. They want authenticity. They want all of this. But then there's a disconnect with the money and the power brokers. Bing, why do you think that is?
Well, the macro is this: everyone's scared. And so whenever people are scared of their jobs and what is going to be possible, they regress back to what is safe and what they know. My response to all these systemic things is let's continue building with our friends in these systems who, I mean, all of us came from one of the big systems, by the way, or most of us came from the big systems. We all know they want to be complicit in progress. They just can't because they are part of a system. So let's continue to help them and be with them. But I think secondly, our approach is screw the system. We're out here like doing our own thing. Like, I'm so proud of our studio team. Christine, who's our GM, is just killing it over there. She just beat out two of the biggest studios in the world for the adaptation rights to a very significant independent video game property out of Japan because they just don't trust them and they trust us to have care with it. And so, like, I do think David can beat Goliath in this period. We just proved it.
To Bing's point, I don't think that there really are nefarious rooms that are trying to figure out how to not make money if it means that they have to make money with us, right? I think, though, that there are a lot of people who are very scared for their jobs. And unfortunately, the incentive structure inside of Hollywood is currently built to support that. We can't make any impact with stories if we don't have audience. So I'm very bullish on commercial storytelling. I don't think it has to be sad, depressing, elitist, exclusive in order to be impactful. I think some of those things can be impactful, but we are making tons of impact with rom-coms that seat millions of people in theaters and with big action movies. We can have Black people in them, and we can have empowered women in them, and we can have fun queer people in them that don't just exist to say, yeah, girl, you did that. Like, they do other things. Like, people can be in other things.
Exactly. I love that. Bing, you had a very big role over at YouTube before, you know, you've now created something really big at Gold House. So is really digital first the new thing that we should all be jumping on?
let me be annoying. Is digital first? No, direct is first. And so what I mean by that is this.
Yeah.
There are all these platforms that are great, but I mean, AZ and I know, like, love YouTube, best creator platform in the world, but you don't own email addresses. You can't text anybody. That algorithm on discovering a referral, you don't control it. Right. And so you're still second-class citizen on anyone else's dime and anyone else's platform. And that's not a thing, by the way. It's been amazing, but you don't own that. And so my push is actually, we are in this amazing renaissance of platforms like Lovable and Replit. You should build your own direct-to-consumer targeting platform, app, agent, etc. right now. It's so easy. There's no excuse not to. It's not going to be a venture-backed high-fidelity platform, but it's good enough to get to a minimally viable product or do what you probably need to do as an artist.
Even sort of like in the moment that I'm in right now with a project coming out that is backed by Lionsgate, and I think they're doing a great job marketing wise, you never feel like you have enough control as a producer on making sure that your project reaches its intended audience. And I had someone say to me yesterday, like, I've never seen a producer do so much like one-to-one as what you're doing in terms of I'm reaching out to my network directly. I'm emailing people. I'm texting people. I'm sending people links to specific screenings in their town, like that I know that they can go to and telling them to bring friends, because I do think that like we just have to be more hands-on. And then I think also just trying to really stay grounded in that like community context and conversation, because Hollywood people like are like fish in some ways, where you're like, a fish doesn't know it's in water. A Hollywood exec doesn't know that they're in Hollywood. They actually think that they're in the world. And their taste is actually like somehow indicative of what other people would want to see. And oftentimes it's not. And so I constantly try to remind myself when like stay connected to one, knowing that I am now in water. I live and work in Hollywood, and therefore I have to get out and touch grass. We have to continue to stay connected to the people that we're actually trying to make things for, while also speaking the language of the people who have the money to unlock the tools for you to make the thing you're trying to make.
Yeah, you've got to be scrappy. Not everybody has to be good at everything. You just have to have people that that are in alignment with you and that you're in community with, that want the same things and are helping each other. And so I think that's a really important part of being a creator, is being able to collaborate. And then hopefully somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who can take your idea to the next level. So yeah, always be in community, I think.
All right. Well, final question. I would love for each of you to offer at least one piece of advice. And two, I also want you to tell me one prediction you see for Hollywood and entertainment over the next 10 years.
This is so like platitude, but like you should create the thing you want. I love how Izzy and Kamala basically moves to like take your broken heart and turn it into art. I wish there was something less like romanticizing of something negative, but the reality is if you are in pain, this is the best time to create. And to go as hard and deep there as you can. The second prediction, it's not even a prediction. It's like this is already happening. If everyone is moving towards automation, acceleration, so forth in AI, we are moving towards intimacy and proximity. And so this is not a prediction, but people are reprioritizing and revaluing the thing that makes us most human, which is our tactile fallacies. So physically getting together, creating products that bring us together, creating spaces that bring us together. I'm excited about our proximity with each other. And I think it bodes really, really well for creatives who care about communal view and communal consumption togetherness.
One piece of advice I would say is like, if audience is important to you in your art, you're not just creating for yourself, but you're creating because you really want other people to see it. Be ruthless about thinking about what that audience bar is, not what your personal bar is. Obviously, you create from that space, but don't be afraid to think about audience. Audience is not something that's going to pollute your creativity. I think if you're making it to be seen, you have to consider them as part of the process. And then I would say prediction. I would say my biggest prediction is that this moment is not going to last forever. I really do think there will be an after this. I don't think all the work that we have done over the last several years and decades is going to be lost in one administration. But I absolutely think we need to take this moment seriously and be very intentional about what we're building so that the next thing will be better.
All right. Last but not least, AZ, what's one piece of advice and one prediction?
Okay, I have two quick pieces of advice. The first one is craft. Like really love and learn your craft. People loved Sinners because Ryan Coogler is exceptional at storytelling, like the basics of storytelling. You have 100 years of film and television to look back at and see what worked and what's good. And like, I feel like people need to get back to really, really learning your craft. It's not just something you can throw together. You really have to know what you're doing. So that's my first advice. The second piece is to play. Always keep the playfulness and find ways to play in your life and keep that energy, because play and play is essential to creativity. And then the future.
Yeah, your crazy 8-ball prediction.
My prediction, I mean, am I going to be writing for AI Judi Dench in 10 years? I don't know. Like, but I continue to agree with being about this intimacy. I mean, what I saw in that theater really woke something up inside of me. People really want that, the connection again. Like, storytelling started around fires, right? Around with your grandma on her lap, like that kind of feeling, bringing that back into the room somehow in creative ways. I think going back to live as well as a part of this process of storytelling is going to be really important to us.
Love it. Thank you to the three of you so much. You all are badasses, role models, mentors, co-conspirators. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Friends, that's it for this episode of Power in Numbers. Thanks again to all of our wonderful guests for joining us, and thanks to you, our listeners, for digging deep with me today. In the next episode, tune in for a conversation on power and politics with Allie Young, Latasha Brown, and Ryan Eller. Listen, watch, and subscribe to Power in Numbers wherever you get your podcasts, and follow @Indigenous House on all socials. Let's close out this episode with music medicine from pop rock artist AJ Harvey.